Hello, hello. Welcome back to It's Only Embarrassing If You're Embarrassed podcast. My name is Madison, and thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This episode, I am going to be talking about something that I personally have struggled with a lot as I have gone through early adulthood. And it's something that I've been thinking a lot about as I've kind of redefined my life and what that looks like for me. So this episode is going to be talking about thinking that life has timetables. And so by that I mean, I think it's very common in society to think that you have to have your dream career by a certain age, and you have to be married and have kids by a certain age, and you have to do this, that, and the other. And then you kind of compare yourself to people around you, and people that are at your age are doing things maybe differently than you. You might think it's better than what you're doing, or you might think that you're better than them. Just this weird concept of thinking that life has timetables, and then kind of judging yourself and others and where you are based off of those timetables. So I personally grew up in the South, so I grew up in North Carolina, and in the South, it's very common, kind of the norm of life is you graduate from high school, you go to college, or you get a job, you get married, you have kids, and that's like the norm. So for me, that did not sound super enticing, but I kind of went along with it anyways. So whenever I graduated from high school, I actually went to college at East Carolina. And when I was in college at East Carolina, I hated going to class. I, at the time, was going to school for a psychology degree. And also, to preface this story, this is not at all like a don't go to college story. This is just personally my experience. The fact that I went to college and have degrees has definitely helped me within my career. But the story of how I got there is interesting. So whenever I graduated from high school, I went to East Carolina, and I definitely was the type of student that like you would get like so many absences before you would like lose a letter grade. I would use all of them, and I just didn't really like to go to class. And I always kind of loved to work, and so at the time I worked in restaurants and bars. Loved that, loved working, loved making my own money, all that good stuff. Hated going to class. So through the end of this, I ended up like having like a pretty steady income working in restaurants and bars, and then I ended up with a psychology degree that I decided a little bit too late that I personally didn't want. So then I did, kind of the next thing, which is, I got married to the person that I'd been with through college because I thought that that's what you do next, right? And so I kind of did all these things and then ended up going back and kind of undoing or doing a few of them differently. So I got a degree in psychology originally, and then I ended up getting a recruiting job out of college. And then from there, I kind of stumbled upon HR, ended up going back to school for HR, and then that's what I have probably done for the past 8 or 9 years. And so within that, I definitely always thought like, it's like part of the next step is like you have to get like the most degrees and certifications and all these things for whatever the next thing that is that you're doing, and you have to get them as soon as you can, and just really this unrealistic expectation and timetable that I kind of had for myself. And then within that, I also got married very young. I started dating my ex-husband when I was 18, and then got married to him when I was probably 22 or 23, and then that marriage lasted for 5 years. And within that, I would say the biggest reason probably that my marriage failed was that the person that I was at 18 and the person that I was at 28 were two such different people, and the same with him. And sometimes you end up in a situation where you become different people, and maybe those people aren't as aligned as the people that you were when you first got together. And so I kind of went through all these things. I went to college, I got married, I did all these things that I thought like you're supposed to do to be happy, and I had to kind of find my way through figuring out what pieces of those fit for me and what pieces didn't. So as you guys know, I got divorced. I split up from my ex-husband about 2 years ago, and I've been divorced for about 6 months. And so in my marriage, one thing that I really struggled with was that I did not want to have kids. And in the South, people think something's wrong with you if you don't want to have kids. Like, they think either like you can't, or like you're crazy. I don't know what they think, but they're not happy if you don't want to have kids, right? So in this marriage that I was in, where I was not, super thrilled in the marriage, people are like, when are you guys gonna have kids? And I'm like, never. And they're like, basically treat you like you're like a fake adult. Like, oh yeah, well, whenever you become a real adult, like, you'll change your mind. And so for all my girly pops or guys out there listening that don't want kids, like, normalize that shit. You don't have to have kids. You can not want kids. You can not want kids till you're 40. You can want kids when you're 20. You can want whatever you want. It's your journey. And so now here I am at 30, divorced, in a career that I kind of accidentally ended up in, if you will. And I love it. I love it here. I love it here with the messy journey that it took me to get here. I love being here with the reality that works for me and with the life that fits for me, not the one that's cookie cutter, the one that society thinks you should have. And now at 30, I'm kind of relearning, like, what do I want my life to be, and getting rid of a lot of those timetables and things that I thought that I had to be happy, and instead redefining what that looks like for me. So within that, I wrote down, like, I'm doing it all wrong, backwards and messy, but I'm so in love with the days and the middle periods, and have loved finding myself. So this is also a little bit of encouragement to anybody if you're out there and you're like, hey, I feel like I should have my shit together. I feel like I should have a plan. I feel like I should X, Y, Z, whatever it is, society or your mind or whoever thinks that you should have or do or be. You can have and do and be whatever it is you want to have and do and be, regardless of what other people think or how old you are or what timelines exist. And that's something that I think is also so interesting, is a lot of timelines or like things like that are really societal expectations. So what might be normal where I grew up might be completely irrational where somebody else grew up, and everything in between. And so I think within being able to redefine what life you want to have, and whether or not you think that life has timetables or things you have to do or be or achieve or whatever, you can define that for yourself. You don't have to define that by society's expectations. You can literally just outline what that is that you want to look like for your life and for your happiness. So as you guys know, I'm trying to do a little recap-a-roo with a Pinterest quote at the end. And so in thinking life has timetables, the biggest takeaway that I personally have within that is a lot of it's just things in your mind. You think you have to have things to be happy or to be successful or for people to think well of you or whatever it is, and it's all bullshit. Like, one, nobody's really that worried about what you're doing with your life, and two, you can do whatever, and as long as people see that you're happy, they probably won't care what you're up to. So the Pinterest quote that I stumbled upon is, therapist, you are your own worst enemy. Me, undefeated, baby. And so this is totally me when it comes to like thinking life has timetables. Like, these are all things that we all make up in our own minds. Like, we are our own worst enemy when it comes to this concept and how we allow this concept to navigate our lives, dictate our lives, or maybe allow us to seek or view our value. So I just want to end by really kind of reminding you guys that timetables are all in your mind. They're all in culture. You can have and do and be whatever life you want. You can start over at any point. You can redefine what that looks like at any point. You can say, this is what, I saw when I was growing up and I want something different. You can do whatever you want and whatever makes you happy. And so if you're waiting for permission to just go do that, like, consider this your permission. Go do your thing, girlfriend. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you guys took away a little inspo that life doesn't have timetables. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and make it your life. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please share, like, subscribe, all the things. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will be back with another episode later in the week. And as always, happy healing, babes.